After a failed attempt in 2024, when ferry strikes from Quebec forced us to turn back, this year we set out with unfinished business. On July 25, 2025, the mission was clear: complete the Trans-Labrador Highway once and for all. Our route was ambitious, first crossing Newfoundland, then riding north to L'Anse Meadows before doubling back for the ferry to Labrador. From there, we'd follow the coast and ride the legendary Trans-Labrador Highway through to Quebec. Finally, we'd continue into the Maritimes, exploring New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia before catching the ferry home to Newfoundland. Over 5,000 kilometers of road, rugged landscapes, and an adventure to remember forever.
Look at the flies, my son. They're everywhere. Beautiful little harbour, though. What? Beautiful little harbour.
It was a beautiful morning in Red Bay, 14 degrees and partial sun. Not a bad day by Labrador standards. Perfect conditions for what would be one of the longer days of the trip. We had enjoyed our time in Red Bay. The harbour was calm and quiet, and our accommodations were pretty unique, unlike the typical motel room we found at most stops along the way. Leaving Red Bay and rolling onto the Trans-Labrador Highway, the road stretched straight ahead, vanishing into the horizon. Out here, it feels like the ride could go on forever. Once the road turns inland, it's all forest. Hour after hour of trees, broken up by the odd river or side road. Not the most exciting scenery, but that's part of the challenge. Our route to Goose Bay stretched just over 540 kilometres, taking us inland along the Trans-Labrador Highway. Labrador's nickname, the Big Land, comes from its sheer size and emptiness. It covers almost 293,000 square kilometres, larger than all of the maritime provinces and the island of Newfoundland combined. It makes up 71% of the landmass of Newfoundland and Labrador, but only 27,000 people, less than 10% of the population, live here. That's why you can ride for hours and not see another soul. Towns are scattered, roads are scarce, and nature still rules.
Passing Lodge Bay. And a bridge.
The Trans-Lab is a blessing and a curse. On one hand, you've got this untouched wilderness all around you, and on the other hand, if anything goes wrong, you're on your own. Out here you cross a lot of bridges. The first time you hit one of these graded bridges on a motorcycle, it feels sketchy. The bike squirms under you, the front wheel hunts for a line, and for a split second your brain says, this isn't right. But the trick is to relax your grip and let the wheel find its groove and ride it out. Port Hope Simpson was our last fuel stop before Goose Bay, and the only one for the next 410 kilometers. Out here, you don't just roll past gas stations every few minutes. You plan your fuel or you don't get there. It's funny how a simple gas station becomes such a critical waypoint out here. In most places, you barely think about it, but in Labrador, this stop means the difference between making it to Goose Bay or being stranded miles from anywhere. Topping up in Port Hope Simpson felt less like a quick stop and more like prepping for an expedition. This was the last chance for gas before the longest unserviced stretch of road on the Trans-Lab. It's one of the longest fuel gaps in North America.
we've left Port Hope Simpson, the road sort of takes a turn inland and gets a little boring. It's a lot of trees for many miles.
The Trans-Lab is a bucket list ride for a lot of motorcyclists, and I get why. It's rugged, remote, and it feels like the edge of the world. When you ride the Trans-Labrador, you quickly learn it's not about the towns or the stops, because there are so few of them. It's about the space between, the isolation, the head-clearing rhythm of mile after mile of road. The forest here feels endless. It can almost lull you into a trance, but that's the test of rides like this. You've got to stay focused, because help is a long way off if you need it. It's funny how things that draw you to a place, like the isolation, the silence, the wild beauty, are the very same things that can make it so hard. That's the double edge of Labrador riding. About 130 kilometers from Goose Bay, we got our first scare of the trip. My bike began to bog out randomly, and with my heart in my throat, we pulled over. I was worried this could be the end of the adventure, but thankfully it was just a fuel issue. I wasn't on reserve yet, but maybe the fuel I got in Port Hope had some water. I topped up from the 5-liter auxiliary can I had and crossed my fingers, and luckily the problem didn't return. We pressed on towards Goose Bay without a problem. Today was one of the big ones, over 500 kilometers from Red Bay to Goose Bay. Out here, the distances aren't just numbers on the map. There are hours in the saddle, through some of the most remote stretches in eastern Canada. By the time we rolled into Goose Bay, we were ready to get off the bikes. 540 kilometers in Labrador isn't just a ride, it's a full day's work. It felt like we were hitting a milestone. It wasn't just about covering the distance. It was about knowing we were deeper into Labrador now, past the coast, past the easy stuff. From here on out, it was the real deal. After freshening up, we treated ourselves to cocktails and a steak dinner at the Mamatouk restaurant, an upscale spot with a menu worthy of the ride. The smoky cocktails and perfectly cooked steaks were a reward for a long day on the road.